Hi, this is Glenn at SwitchUp here today to review Megaton Rainfall. Many thanks to the developers for this review copy. This game was created by a one-man team and was originally released for the PS4, making use of that console's VR accessory before recently releasing on the Nintendo Switch. So is this superhero themed game more Batman Begins?
I'm Batman.
Or Batman and Robin?
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
Let's find out. Megaton Rainfall is played from a first-person perspective and has you in the role of an almighty being, or a god amongst men if you will. Batman jokes in the intro aside, this protagonist has a lot more in common with another DC hero. No, not that one.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Aquaman sucks.
Yes, Superman. Aliens have invaded your adopted home and you are humanity's last hope. Destroy the alien threat and save the world. The game starts with a tutorial that sees your father informing you of the alien threat before challenging you to complete a few simple tasks to get you used to the controls. The first thing that hits you is the sheer scale of the game world. You can quite literally fly anywhere in the universe, from the edge of the galaxy right down to the city streets. Each mission sees you flying over a semi-procedurally generated city. The alien threats will rain down from the sky and you must take them out by using your godly powers. Shooting an alien ship in its weak point, represented by a red flashing spot, will take it out in one shot, and this is desirable as with every shot you take at the enemy, you run the risk of inadvertently causing harm to the civilians you are trying to protect. The introduction of alien ships whose movement is ever more erratic leads to you having to pick your moment to shoot. This can lead to you feeling quite helpless at times, having to hold fire while an alien destroys a building, but then I suppose that's the point. Using the Superman analogy again, you could argue that his biggest weakness, other than kryptonite obviously, is his love for mankind. That compassion that keeps him from using the full extent of his powers should it mean putting the human race in danger. This game makes you feel more like Superman than any Superman game has ever managed. Your health bar, so to speak, is measured in the aforementioned civilian casualties. Lose too many civilians and you will need to start from the last checkpoint you reached. This means that you cannot go gung-ho, spamming the fire button. You must temper your willingness to defeat the enemy with a realization of just how powerful you are and the damage that you can do. Each time you successfully defend a city, you will again speak to your father, who will unveil a bit more of the story, as well as bestowing upon you a new power. The story is extraordinarily cheesy, and there is no sign of its tongue being anywhere near its cheek either, meaning it's all taken very seriously. The new powers include an unstoppable charge shot and the ability to slow down time amongst others. These mix the gameplay up, but come with a caveat that once used, they have a cooldown time before you can use them again. Whilst it's understandable that the game doesn't want you to be too overpowered, the idea of having to watch out for collateral damage was a clever way of preventing this, and the introduction of cooldown times just breaks the immersion a little of you being all-powerful. Gameplay can become a little repetitive after a while, especially on the larger alien ships where it may take a while for you to find the weak point, meaning a few retries. But huge credit must be paid where it's due, as there is nothing else like this available on the Switch at this time. For a game to make you feel both invincible and utterly helpless at times is a very clever idea, and gameplay receives 14 out of 20. Graphics is a very difficult section to score in Megaton Rainfall. On the one hand, the size of the game world created is mightily impressive, and as mentioned, you can quite literally fly anywhere. From a distance, things look very good, with planet Earth being represented well, and the feeling of speeding through space before breaking through the Earth's atmosphere is quite an exhilarating one. There are a few different types of alien, with some of the designs being quite ingenious. There are noticeable landmarks to spot in each city, such as Big Ben and the Taj Mahal, but it's when you get a bit closer during these city sections that things do not hold up quite so well. On closer inspection, everything looks a bit muddy and blurry, especially in handheld mode. The humans will occasionally run through buildings or sink into the ground, and when a building explodes, it seems to result in blobs of plasticine falling onto the streets below. The aforementioned landmarks will also repeat. Big Ben being blown up? Never mind, the government must have built another one when no one was looking. There is also a little stuttering sometimes after blowing up an enemy ship. So there are quite a few negatives noted there, but in all fairness, how many other games allow you to fly past the sun, break through the Earth's atmosphere and then descend to street level to the point where you can see civilians running around and cars on the road, even if they do look a bit wonky. A large amount of credit must be given for the scale of the project undertaken and the level to which it was achieved, even if the end results are not perfect. Graphics are as ambitious as they are flawed, and they receive 12 out of 20. Audio is also quite a mixed bag in Megaton Rainfall. At times, especially during the story segments at the beginning of the game, it appears that quite a heroic score is being built, and, coupled with the voice acting in which someone gives their best Marlon Brando Jor-El impression,
My offspring, come with me.
it all sounds pretty good. However, once the stages start, the game opts for an electric, fast-paced techno beat. And it just seems a bit out of place. It's not bad music, and it certainly gets the blood pumping. It just does not fit the foreboding event that is taking place in front of your eyes. Audio receives 13 out of 20. Control wise, you use the left stick to move through the air and the right stick to look around. The basic controls involve using ZR to fire at your foes, and you will find it difficult at first to hit the enemy weak points as there is no lock-on mechanic, but as mentioned, powers that are unlocked later, such as the ability to slow down time, do help with this. The R button makes you ascend, and pressing L will see you descend. While flying, you will need to get used to stopping, and occasionally you will overshoot your target, but you do start to get a feeling for it fairly quickly. My biggest complaint would be that accelerating is tied to the ascend button, meaning that the only way to pick up speed is to fly upwards and away from your target. This feels a little counterintuitive at times, and an individual button for acceleration would have made things feel a little more fluid. Controls receive 15 out of 20. Megaton Rainfall costs £14.39 or $15.99, and as well as the story mode, you will also unlock both a score attack mode and a free play mode as you play through. The story has a mixture of missions, so as well as defeating aliens, you will also be defending the Earth from bombs, as well as more mundane missions that see you following an on-screen marker through space. Each mission sees you scored on how many civilians were killed and the damage done, and you are then given a grade, thus giving high score chasers some incentive to replay. The biggest problem is that feeling of repetition that sets in within missions, but there's also a lot to be said for how much fun it can be the first time you fly between buildings at breakneck speed, trying to destroy a huge metallic worm before it levels the city. Value receives 13 out of 20. To conclude, Megaton Rainfall is a highly ambitious title that manages to make you feel invincible but also responsible for those around you that aren't. It does not fall into the trap that so many games with a powerful protagonist have in the past, notably most Superman games, of either underestimating said powers or giving the hero a mundane threat to deal with. Instead, for the most part, the threat is real, and failure comes not from being defeated, but allowing humanity to be instead. There are some performance issues, as well as a few graphical glitches and inconsistencies, and to be fair, these are to be expected from a project that aims so high and was created by just one person. But there is nothing else like this on the Switch, and there is a fun game to be found if you can forgive a few cosmetic blemishes and occasional performance issues. Megaton Rainfall receives a SwitchUp score of 67%. Thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to leave a like if you like what you've just seen and heard, and do consider subscribing to SwitchUp for all things Switch all the time, and as always, happy gaming.